Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. So a little shaky footing going on here this morning. Who knows? A little profit taking. We'll see how far it goes. Um, we know things are going to get a little rougher. Internals are saying be careful. Got the total put call into the upper band there. Starting breadth and extreme going sideways, not unusual, but bullish. And equity put call ratio pushing toward the top band. So warning signs. And two wide range bars on the Dow. And, typically when you see that, there certainly could be another one. I'll look at the diamonds, but I imagine it's gapping below this little base here right now. However, it's within striking distance of a closing all-time high. Wouldn't take that much. On a weekly chart, it's only about 90 points. On the daily chart, these topping tail bars up here, the close is further up. It's about 500 points. But, this morning, down a little bit. We'll see how far it goes. We'll take a look at the intraday charts. And, let's take a look at, Dow futures. You see down a little bit, not a big deal, pulling back. Got to drag that up here, coming down to minor support. Just rolling over, not a big deal, but you can see the futures are up against this prior resistance there, and just eyeballing that the futures are already at the all-time high close. So backing off from there. Diamonds, of course, underneath there and pulling back. It's extended. And pulling back towards some support. I suspect buyers are going to be there. But it can't pull back too far. It won't pull back. I say that because that's what I believe. It wouldn't pull back below the bottom of that second wide range bar today. But keep an eye on that minor support level right there in the coming days if the selling does continue. You can see this little congestion here. It's the largest area of congestion on the 60-minute chart. But maybe it stays in the top. So look, factory work. Wide range bar. Just eyeball or mark off the upper 50%, see where it's at. It's right on the upper 50%. So gapping down in the middle of that wide range bar. And so our thought process rules are prices can break below the 50% mark, but by the end of the day, we want to see it close back above. So we'll see if that happens. Being extended as it is, I think it's better that it's gapping down than gapping up. Going sideways like that into the close on Friday, I think it'd be a greater inclination to sell the gap up than gapping down. So it looked great. It was going sideways. Some selling going on here, and we'll see how far it goes. Why is it being sold? Well, interest rates up a little bit for whatever reason, but the 5-year has already come down to support. But it's on the 200 MA. These are 5-year yields on the 200 MA. That's where it stopped on Friday. So opening up a little bit, still trending down, but coming into a support area. The 10-year is coming into a support area. So one of the themes this year was when interest rates and the dollar are going up, the markets are going down. When interest rates are going down and the dollar was going down, the market went up. And we've talked about, for a week or so that, hey, when it gets down here, the probability is that the equity markets would begin to falter. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to, crash and get any craziness about it, because odds are that ain't going to happen, into the end of the year and the beginning of the year. But coming down to where it is now, I've been chopping around here. If it starts to move up, you know what, there's going to be a little bit more pressure on equities. And we already seen the leaders beginning to falter. Semiconductors, which led the way up and popped up here to a new high, they've been pulling back. Whether you look at Meta, which led the way up, one of the biggest winners there, you can see how that was pulling back as the Dow was racing higher. Google looks even, I think, a little worse than that. So, some money coming out, rotating, but hey, and look at where this is this morning. It's down a little bit, but what's been beaten down, some money's rotating into the losers. And so this looks like it could continue to go up. But everything's down here a little bit pre-market. You see the dollar, that's up a little bit, not really a big deal, but check out Bitcoin. I don't know what got this going this morning. What news, why, but that broke out above this range that it's been in for over 2 weeks, and it's above 40,000. So now clearing that, maybe you can get to 45 or better as it comes up to this pivot high there. And with some amazing moves on Friday, bringing up the rear, the Russell finally broke out in a monster way. So that certainly needs a rest. And 50% mark, give or take. Where's it at here? It's still in the upper half. So that looks fantastic, but might need a few days of rest. Looks like it can go higher. The regionals, so when you see the Russell moving like that, you want to look or anticipate, the regionals should have been moving up, and biotech, coming off the bottom, money rotating into the junk. So now the Russell moving up. Gold, getting a little shellacked there after. Well, look at that run. That momentum blast off, climactic move higher. So, I mean, here's this pullback to the moving averages from a kind of a rounding top, not the ideal scenario. So it stalled there, and then it kept going. I mean, what's driving gold? I'm not sure. I mean, I know a couple of weeks ago, we talked about that silver was leading the way. And, that was here, that it already cleared this. So now that's up at reaching its destination. Yeah, Tony. Yeah, the Russell is an igniting bar, but it's a monster igniting bar. It's like it's moved so far in a short amount of time that our expectation is that it should rest. So the idea is it consolidated for a couple of weeks. You got this igniting bar, which is a momentum move, creates a void. And so now it's pulling back, and it'll need to chop around for a little while. But when you see this, it leads to an expectation and belief that it'll eventually go higher. And the next pivot is up here. We'll see. Copper. So metals have been going up. Steel, I know, has been up, copper up. So those are some positive things. But I guess and you see gold moving that, and you wonder, when silver moving up, is there an inflation's coming down, right? So why is gold and silver and copper and all of this moving up, other than all asset classes are just being bought at the end of the year. I'm not sure. Maybe someone else knows better, but when you see copper, steel, gold, uh, you know, all racing higher like that, and interest rates are coming down, kind of if interest rates were going up, it kind of would make more sense. But I mean, it'll we'll figure it out over time, but what's moving it, I'm just not sure right now. All of these things moving together like that. Planning for 2024 Armageddon. Well, the charts are bullish for next year. That doesn't mean that there can't be some sizable correction. Armageddon means something very ominous. And, you see this big bottom here, and it's in a trading range. So, as we get into the end of the year, we start looking at longer term charts, and we'll review the yearly charts and then the newsletter, of course. But this pulled back as it did, and we remember down here it looked like maybe it would come lower, and it had this months of chopping and slopping back and forth, and we got this correction bar there on the monthly time frame, and prices up. Remember, that was August, and that's where interest rates started going up, and the dollar went up, and then the dollar and interest rates, well, they bottomed here. This came down, that went up, and so now we've got interest rates and the dollar coming down to support. They haven't turned yet, but that's what we're going to have to keep an eye on. I already mentioned our internals have given us a heads up, but look, we've got a wide range bar on the monthly chart. It's at resistance. So as we get into next year, we just continue to do the same thing that we do. Assess everything. Could it be the Saudis saying they are cutting oil production? Well, they've been saying that for a while, and oil's been going down. Right? So, I mean, they started saying that over a month ago. And I mean, you think about news, and you think about, what's actually happening. And you remember a few months ago, oh, Joe Biden's emptying the reserves, right? Trying to keep the price of oil down. And now they're going to have to buy more oil, and the Saudis are cutting production, and oil drops from over here where it's like, oh, that's going to go to 100. And now it's at 73. And this isn't a bad tick, by the way. This was that crazy time in 2020. But I don't know, maybe it's bottoming here. So when we go into next year, no matter when, now we'd be watching to see what oil does, what interest rates do, what the dollar is going to be doing, and so on. And that's what, and internals, what we call techno fundamentals. It's not just the price patterns. Price patterns give us guidance, of course, in what we trade. But why do they fail at times? Why do they do things that seem unusual? And it's not like we always get it all the time, but when you start looking at intermarket analysis and market internals, things start to make a whole lot more sense when you look for the reason why. All right. And this is just doing nothing here. It's gonna take some time to digest Friday, so it looks like things are going to be kind of choppy here. Let me get you back here in SPX and see if anything's moved from here. Let's dive down a little further, coming down to support. Actually, gapping down to Friday's low. That's the last thing. And we've got 15 minutes to the open, but that's the last thing that you want to see after a range expansion bar taking out the highs to gap down below it. It's not good. Okay. All right. So they zeroed out the quotes here. I can't see what it is, but I can show you what it was before. And now it's going to be lower. And look, with these SPX, I don't say it every day, but I know I said it last week. Whatever the numbers are, and this number, I'm sure this number has come down now, probably to 4,600 since things have come down, and this is gapping down. You got to watch these things to see how they start to move. And in the room, I didn't point out to do this until the latter part of the day after it was multiple. There was like the third 1,000 uptick reading, and in 2020 hindsight, the downside would have been a no-brainer, but whatever. So right now, I'm thinking, with this down here, and I don't see the quotes in TC 2000, but before I started talking, it was 4605. So now it might actually be below 4,600, and this gapping down where it is, the upside should be fine. Now the downside was 4530 before, and so now it's probably a little lower. So we'll see at the open, but 45, if we can get 4520, I don't know. You just see, I think that would be fine, and it's on support. So the way it dove down as it did, I think that's possible. All right. I don't know if we looked at transports, but I mean, Friday was an amazing, move up day, overcooked, of course. So now what we want to see is, how much does it give back? And we didn't want to see SPX giving it all back. That's for sure. The Qs, that was faltering, breakout failure. This is pulling back, got a little topping action there. So look, correction, some kind of correction was bound to happen. A little surprised to see it doing what it's doing here. First thing, and S&P's gapping below that low. But we'll see how far it goes. And I don't think buyers are going to completely disappear, because with a move like this, I think they're going to show up again. At what level? We'll assess that as it unfolds. And there's more economic reports coming out this week, of course. There's not too much today. Some auction 3 and 6 month T-bills, but tomorrow is ISM services and JOLTS report. So those are market movers, and we'll see. Things are probably going to be sloppy today, and then we'll see how tomorrow unfolds. All yours, man.
Good morning. Now, good morning. So yeah, market selling off more pre-market. Greg talked about the accidents, gap down, etc. We Friday there were just a ton of bullish setups, and so I'm glad we're getting a gap down, both for purposes of nothing's going to trigger unless it's really strong, and then we've been waiting for this turn where we'll start doing credit spreads over the highs. So I was looking for shorts over the weekend and had a hard time. So I did give that one, Thomas, as a bear 1, 2, 3, possible. And when we're fading strong moves, we want as many signs of a reversal that it can't go higher, green bars ignored, topping tails, and the more bars, the better, because it's obviously more resistance when it cracks. So yeah, that's a call spread idea. Bottom right here, SE. It was in the news. There's a lot of movements of stocks, not a lot, but a dozen or so, things being added to the S&P and mid cap 600 and whatever, so that this thing was getting kicked out of something. And so I just look at it. Now it's technically not a 1, 2, 3 on the daily, but it is on the weekly. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this could also possibly, if it were to go sideways a couple more bars, particularly if we had a breakdown failure, it could possibly be a double bottom. Although it's not a quality one with all this resistance, but as of now, it's a breakdown daily, weekly. Man, I didn't see this before until I looked at the monthly. It was $370. Wow, something is dreadfully wrong with this. So now it's forming a nice base pre-market. So I'm going to set an alarm 3670. Ideally 30-minute low. So that's the only short I have. Watch in my arsenal right now. But a ton of bullish trades. Look at VIX here. VIX is the retest pattern, gapping up, gapping up, and I was hoping it would have gone sideways until 10 a.m. reversal, and then spiders break down and VIX break up. But this fluid move now in the spiders. Just lost my pre-market again. Always does that. So this is messing up entries here at the open. But when Greg was showing the diamonds, I mean, this would have been a beautiful 0 DTE call spread candidate. And I do not know the answer, but it's the only index ETF that doesn't have friggin' 0 DTEs. Why, oh, why, oh, why? That makes zero sense to me. Zero. But what can I do about it? All right, so we looked at VIX. All right, so this Fisser, Greg said, was gapping. I'm sorry, Greg said was got a downgrade. Thing falls from 7 to $1.70, and now you're downgrading it. So my bias is if it can negate this gap down, then that's a short-term exhaustion, climb up. So let's set an alarm 175 and move on. Yeah, look, I just found this thing. There's a lot of bottoming patterns. This looks like a candidate for junk. People going after junk, beating down things, but it's gapping up here again. Yeah, Bitcoin was rallying over the weekend, actually. It trades 24/7. I was at a concert last night on Fort Lauderdale Beach with a buddy, my Bitcoin trading buddy, and that's all he was talking about at the concert. It's like, the coin, baby, the coin's up. But you know what? He does have a good mentality for a trader. And here's what I mean. He said that, that it's getting the final bump from the excitement of being an ETF coming up. And he says, you know what, Dan, I just want him to run it up, 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 up. The day the announcement, gap up, I'm selling all, market out. And like, that's a professional mindset right there. Instead of saying, oh, it's, going to go back to 100,000. And then he said that I'll look for a meaningful pullback and get back in. That's what you do as a trader. You don't take things personal. You think the sport code at Macy's, the manager talks about at happy hour, he don't care about the sport code. It's just inventory. All right, so ALK in the merger news is buying Hawaiian Airlines. And man, I've never seen such a big gap percent-wise. Look at this, $4.80 stock to $13.50. You know what that I'm no fundamentalist, but what that is telling me by looking at the charts, that I would sue the board of ALK, because that's telling me, you friggin' idiots, so much overpaid for that. So the HA shareholders are happy as can be. And then look, you know, Alaska's getting friggin' whacked as they should. And then I think they were also on the list of getting kicked off the S&P 500. Uber's the excitement added to the S&P. This was a run up excitement. I don't forget exactly what day that the rumor came out, whatever, whatever. But I do know that a lot of this excitement was S&P 500 related. I got SE on the other chart. So let's watch Uber as an exhaustion gap for a call spread. P cartons. Yeah. I mean, I can't tell where it's gapping. And that's a very bullish. It's a bull rectangle. Oh, nice. So that's a bull rectangle. Red bars ignored, strong as can be. But the good thing about this morning is we're going to be in no rush to get into any longs. So just set your alarm. But yeah, look at the ETF jets. So it's relative strength here, until the markets are all down, and this was an igniting closing breakout. Looked higher. And we actually put JetBlue in our letter here, bottoming pattern. So here actually it's gapping over the entry. Let me just tell them 5-minute high is a go. Yeah, a number of these. Well, Riot, yeah, I remember you mentioned that somewhere in here, and I said, yeah, I liked it. I was watching it for the longest time over here, and then it fell apart and got sloppy. But Mara, I think it could be a short-term exhaustion gap. It's way off the pre-market high here. Carvana, we bought a starter position Friday into the close, another bottoming pattern, catch-up thing. And I sent out an alert to sell 1/3 pre-market. But that looks great for a new setup. VRT had favorable Barron's mention. And it's sloppy, but 20 above the 50, above the 200, uptrend daily, weekly, monthly. It's a closing breakout. See? Oh, I think I had this as a put spread over the closing price. All right, I'm getting a ton of alarms going off now. So I'll be busy with alarms. But let's see here on VRT. A dash up alarm. VRT, yeah, over the closing price. So VRT is a go if filled. Dash. We have a put spread idea. So that's good to go if filled. So that's a clean hit, relative strength. Bull flag
That should be a
consolidation.
good directional.
I had this on my core long list too. Look at that monthly breakout buy setup.
We got to check out of that one.
We actually had short 92 puts over here. Piton up alarm. All right, Piton is a go. Said G I have as a bottoming pattern. Oh, and I think this thing got kicked out also of some whatever index. So that's a good sign that it's not reacting badly. So said G, I looked at this for a put spread idea, but there was no juice here under these lows, but possible directional. I'm just in no rush to get into anything here. Q's the weakest under the open. 5-minute chart, diamonds, IWM rallying. So said G, I like. Wish up alarm. Let's tighten stop now. under here. 552 on Wish. SMH alarm, so the call spread. I didn't think that would be over the weekend. I didn't think that would be hitting at 9:32 a.m. today. Wow.
Yeah, that's right on the rising 20 MA. As long as you're above that topping tail, you should be fine.
All these alarms, like always, busy on Monday mornings. And JCI alarm. We just made second target of Wish was 635. Man, that's some relative strength. Wowzer. Let's move stop day slow now. 587. Wow, that was a big move. JCI alarm. All right, that's a clean hit. 53.96.